Card number 82 from the 1953 Bowman Colors series, Joe Astroth of the Philadelphia Athletics. The Athletics lucked out with some really good weather when those photographs were taken. As I remember looking through all those cards, all the Philly Athletics had some great sunny photographs in that set. If it's card number 82, then it must be session number 82 of Card Room Live. You know, it's always funny when the live session starts. By the time the 53-second video is over, 5 or 6 people have left. They just couldn't stand looking at a Bowman color card for that long, and they just had to leave the live stream. They're like, this live stream's not for me. Well, that's okay. We don't mind. Because after all, this is not a show. It's a hangout for fellow vintage collectors. Sometimes we have guests. We do have a guest tonight. But most of the time we waste time looking at and talking about cardboard. And through it all, we try to make it time well wasted. If you're here with us live, welcome. There's a lot of folks already chatting it up in the comments section. That's what this live stream is all about. So if you're new, make yourself heard. If you're a lurker, that's okay too. If you're listening to this later, whether you are going to or coming home from work, sorting cards, looking at eBay, walking the dog, sitting on the John, wondering if Eddie Wakus will get mentioned. This might be the only chance that Eddie gets in this episode. Wondering if I'll stop referencing the card room video that Reese ND Card Ranger still hasn't made. We all love you, Reese. Whatever you might be doing, I hope you get something out of it. If you want to get in touch and have ideas for future sessions, you can email me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, bowman53_Alex. And on X, 1953 Bowman Color. And one of the things I actually really like about these sessions is that I feel like there's a nice crossover of YouTubers and Instagrammers and Twitter folk. And that's what this is all about. So you can always find that information located in the description below. Good evening to everybody. I just want to sort of give some shout outs here to some folks that are here. CR, I don't know who you are, but I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. One of the wrench holders is here. Good evening to you. Mike is here. Happy Eclipse Eve from Hammer 44. Mitch is here. Rick Acosta is here. Eddie's Cardboard Chaos is making a live appearance, which is always a good thing. Orlando is here. Sammy Thunder is here. Peter is here. Peacemaker is here. Kurt is here. I was just talking to Kurt the other day. How are you, Kurt? Jesse is here. Mookie is here. You made it through the intro. Yeah. I mean, if you like, what you can't watch a vintage baseball card for 53 seconds. You're like, no, that's not for me. The other wrench holder is here. What's up, Don? While Don's up on the screen here, I want to flash this 1941 play ball that Don sent me. Oh, I don't know, maybe a year ago at this point. This beautiful Charlie Gehringer. This is a 41 play ball. We are not looking at 41 play ball tonight. We're looking at a different set. And the gentleman that is waiting to come on, I'm going to bring him on right now. He has quite a few of these. Here he is. Rocket Rick. How are you, Rick?
You.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here.
Hey, glad to do it.
Rick, what set are we going to be looking at tonight?
Well, we're going to take a look at the 1940 play ball, the black and white set with the labels on them, I guess.
With the labels on, yeah.
To distinguish from the 39 set.
Right. Okay. This is going to be fun. So, Rick, before we get started, I just want to say, and this is kind of off the cuff, but you know, when I think back, like how long ago did you start your YouTube channel?
A year ago, February.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, just over a year now. And one thing that I always think about is, you know, you've mentioned to me, whether it was like in emails or text messages or just like comments and stuff, that you've really enjoyed coming into the Card Room Live sessions, whether you're here in person like you are tonight, but also just in the comments. And, you know, I just want to say thanks for being so supportive of it, because whenever you've talked about it with me, you've always talked about it in terms of the community aspect of it. And that, it's every Sunday night. And that's kind of the thing that I would really hope that it was. So I just wanted to say thanks, publicly, for you always being
Yeah.
supportive of it.
Well, it just strikes a harmonious note for me because it's just a lot of fun. Everybody's having a good time, and it's obvious we get to the end of it, and we're all wishing that it could last a little longer.
Right. And it's a good thing that we have we've got other streamers doing stuff. We've got, 4 collectors, pretty much every Sunday night at 9. So it's cool that we have all these things going on. So Rick, I've got a bunch of questions, and we can, I sent you the questions ahead of time, but
right,
we can kind of just work our way through this. And if anybody has any questions for Rick, I'll try to keep my eye on the comments and share some of those questions with him as well. But I thought before we get into the details of the set, maybe we should show some cards. Show us
Sure.
a few of your favorites from the set that you have so far.
Well, I'd be happy to do that. I kind of generally like to follow, the order that they come up in the on the checklist. So the first card I'm going to show you is card number 6, which is Lefty Gomez.
Oh wow, yeah.
And most of the ones that I have are not in SGC holders, and none of them are in PSA holders. So most of them are just raw. But this one I happen to get in a 1.5. It looks pretty good though for a 1.5.
Absolutely.
And the first 10 card numbers in the checklist are pretty heavily front loaded with Yankees. A lot of people I noticed are wondering about they said my Yankee hat doesn't look the same. Well, that's because I'm a bandwagon jumper. I mean, the Pirates are crushing it.
the best team in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's they're doing pretty well, unexpectedly so, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. So this is card number 7, and this is Hall of Fame catcher whose number 8 was retired along with Yogi Berra, and now the next card I have is one of the 2 players who flanked Joe DiMaggio for many years, including the 4 consecutive championships in the late 30s. And he has one of the great nicknames too, but for some reason they didn't put it on the card. They just put Charlie, but everybody knows him as King Kong Killer.
Yeah, right. And I think he has that on his I think it's on his 49 Bowman. You can see that.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
They missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's another one of the great Yankee pitchers. I'm trying to get that to focus. Doesn't seem to want to do that. Here, I'll put it over my face. There we go. Everything looks better.
Red Ruffing.
Red Ruffing. My college roommate used to call him Red Ruffin Sore.
Oh, nice.
Which is a pretty good nickname in and of itself. And so in keeping with, my bandwagon jumping, I'll show a couple of Pirates here. We got Big Poison, Paul Wainer.
Oh, I didn't realize that was his nickname. That's great.
Yeah. Some people said it was a New Yorker trying to say big person, but I'm not sure. Not sure that I believe that's true. And this is I've been fortunate enough to acquire a couple of Lloyd Wainer cards recently, and this is another one. Little Poison. And I've got two more cards to show. This is another Pittsburgh Pirate, Archie Vaughan.
Right.
So those are all Hall of Famers, with the exception of Keller, who certainly was a pretty good ball player. You had asked in your second question,
Yeah.
how did I get started? And this is a guy that's gonna come up several times. This is the other guy that flanked Joe DiMaggio, and that's Tommy Henrik.
Right.
It's probably the only guy who could make a significant game-winning contribution while striking out. The 1941 World Series, he was the guy at bat when Mickey Owen dropped a third strike, and he managed to get to first base, and the Yankees went on to rally and win that game. But this is the first card that I got. I've always kind of liked Tommy Henrik, and so when I saw that he had cards in the all three play ball sets, I already had the 39, but I went ahead and got the 40 and the 41. So he's the first card in both of those sets. I haven't made much progress with the 41, but he'll come up again later when we get to because he had a pretty good nickname too, Old Reliable, and that's not on the card either.
So that guy got you started.
He got me started.
Now, like Rick, how many sets have you built, or are you building?
Well, I have 8 Bowman sets. I got all 8 of them, and I lose track of the number of sets in the top series, but I have them all completed from 53 up till 2023.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what's that, 71?
Wow. Okay.
And then I've got some small sets also, and then going back to the pre-war, I do have a 39 play ball set completed. Now, when I say completed, what I mean by that is if there's 224 cards in the set, that's how many I have. I don't generally have the variations.
Right.
I do have some of them, and I am working on a master set of 1962 tops, which is one of the that was sort of right in my wheelhouse as a collector in my childhood.
Sure.
So, but I didn't have a complete set back then either.
Right. Yeah, I imagine few did. So so obviously you're collecting a lot of different sets and have collected sets before. I'm going to jump ahead to a question about the black and white aspect of this set. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you've collected a lot of other sets now and have seen a lot of cards. What are your thoughts on the black and white?
Well, many years ago, I started taking pictures, with photographs, and I like black and white. I like the way it looked, and I was fortunate enough to take a couple of pretty nice pictures, which I have framed here in the house somewhere. It seems to me that, and maybe it's counterintuitive, but I think you can tell a lot from a black and white photograph that gets lost in all of the colors when it's a color photograph. They're more subtle, more nuanced, a lot more, light and shade, and just the look of it is really artistic.
Right.
So I like black and white. The first time I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame, it was in sometime in the early 70s. And they had an exhibit there, and I wish I could remember the photographer's name. I probably would know it if somebody would say it now, but I don't remember who it was. And they had a whole, like a hallway that connected two different areas. And in that hallway, it was all lined with black and white photographs. I don't know whether they were probably 11 by 14. I mean, they were big photographs. And they reminded me an awful lot of the 1939 play ball set.
Hmm.
So when I got an interest in that set, it really brought back memories of being at the Hall of Fame and seeing all the photographs of all those old players. And they didn't have the names of the players on them, so you kind of had to guess if you had some idea of who it might be. But a lot of them I didn't know.
Right.
It was obviously from back in the 30s sometime.
Sure.
And I like it. I like it a lot, and I think that, like I said, I think you can really pick out some subtleties that I think get overwhelmed when you add all the color.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I love that. I had no idea that you have taken some photographs. You've been a photographer. That's really cool to learn.
Well, I have a camera,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't call myself a photographer. And now, it is interesting because, you had to learn about f-stops and
Yes.
shutter speeds and film speed and
See, that
all
makes you a
kinds of other
photographer, Rick,
things.
because nowadays you don't have to know
Hey,
any of
now
that.
you don't have to know anything,
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
how to turn on your phone,
Right. Right. Pretty much.
which is sometimes mystifying for me.
Right. A couple quick questions coming in here from some folks before we get back on track. Rick Acosta wants to know if you have any plans on finishing the 52 tops set.
Well, I do. I have dreams. I'll put it that way. Aspirations. I don't know if I have a plan yet, uh, but I'm thinking about it. And I don't have any high numbers yet.
Right.
And I think I've said before that when I approach collecting a set, I generally start with, well, if Mickey Mantle is in the set, I like to start with Mickey Mantle,
Sure.
whatever his number is. But then when I start, accumulating commons, I'll go back to card number 1, 2, 3, 4, and do it that way. And so I'm up to 179 now, and then I have quite a few more after that. But I don't have. I've lost 2 Charlie Maxwell bids here in the last couple of weeks. So, people think that he's a. I guess it is a rookie card, but and he's a good player. But it really it kind of frosts my butt to have to pay $50 or $60 for
Yeah. Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
dog-eared. But I guess that's what I'm going to have to do.
Right. The life of a set builder.
Yeah,
Mookie asks if you have any Superman back play balls.
I do. What that is they put out a set of the Gum Inc. of Superman cards back in 19, I guess 40, 39, 40, somewhere along in there. And they advertised it on the back of some of the high number cards. And so there's every high number card has a variation because it comes in a regular back and then the Superman back.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I did not know
So
that.
I didn't know if I had any, but I looked through my cards and I found one that had it. It's I could show you the back, but it's very small writing, so
Sure, sure.
not sure it would show up all that well. Um, but I didn't pull it out, so I don't have it here right in
Right.
front of me.
I was going to ask this too. Was the photographer that you saw the Hall of Fame did it happen to be Charles Conlon?
I've got a set of Charles Conlon cards that were put
Yeah.
out, back in, I don't know, the 80s or 90s or something like that, and they're really clear pictures. And my recollection, it's going back 50 years now. My recollection is that they were not. They were more. They looked more like the 39 play ball cards,
Hmm.
um, and they, not quite as crisp as Charles Conlon
Okay.
photographs typically are.
Right. Here's a question from Alan, and then we'll get back to showing cards. Any idea why Jimmy Fox isn't in 39, but he's in 40 and 41 play ball?
I,
Could be
I'm
contract issues.
I'm afraid I just don't know. Although they were. Um, it seems like back in that day that they were kind of hit or miss.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. If you have 16 teams and you had a 25-man roster, I mean that's a pretty wide range of. I mean, you're up over 300 players, and yet there isn't any. I mean, other than the T206, I don't know of any other pre-war set that has uh, more than 300.
Right. Right. I always think it's
Yeah.
interesting when you go through and see who's in and who isn't, that you sort of
Right.
get a bigger story
Yeah.
as to what was going on in the game. Um, a few people have already mentioned this, but one of the things that I think is pretty unique about the set is that it includes some retired players. So, what are some favorites of yours that you have so far from the set?
Well, this is one of the things that really attracted me to the 1940 set is the presence of these retired Hall of Famers. I think something like they're out of the 240 cards. I think there are 51 Hall of Famers in it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure how many of them are retired, but it's got to be close to half.
Hmm.
And so I just picked out some that I have, and I've gone after these with uh, some vigor. I don't have the Shoeless Joe Jackson card yet,
Okay.
because you put Shoeless Joe's name on you could put it on one section of the 2-ply paper you keep in your bathroom, and I think you probably sell it for $1,000 maybe.
True. Very true. Yeah.
So this is one of the first of these retired Hall of Famers that I got. Grover Cleveland Alexander,
That's
Old
a great
Pete.
photograph.
It is a great photograph, and I remember during a rain delay back when I was watching a game as a kid, and they showed World Series highlights of the 1926 World Series when old Pete came out of the bullpen to
Right.
strike out Tony Lazzeri and then retire uh, the the batters in the ninth inning. And that was his last contact with glory, I guess you would
Right. His
say.
last hurrah for sure.
Yeah. So that's uh, and here's one that gives you a little better idea about some of the condition uh, elements of my collection.
Right.
It's got some paper loss right on the cap, but it's still Christy Mathewson,
Yeah.
and I think that these the Alexander card and the Mathewson card, along with this one, which is
Oh
Walter
yeah, Big
Big
Train.
Train Johnson. I think these are probably the most undervalued cards in my feeling in the set. I mean, these are the greats of the game, and they could easily be worth more than they are.
No, I agree, and they're beautiful looking cards
Yeah,
on top of everything else.
and here's a Tris Speaker. So I think that with the different cards and nicknames and everything else they got going for them, I thought those were pretty good examples of these retired Hall of Famers.
Right.
Uh,
Rick, some people are very excited about your Shoeless Joe toilet paper idea.
yeah.
It's a good idea to make some
Well,
extra cash.
I'm just saying, it's important stuff. So you asked how many cards do I have, and how many do I need to complete this? I have 44 out of the 240 cards, so I've got a long way to go. I'm a little over a sixth of the way, and I've got some I got some fun cards here. These are cards of nicknames.
Yes.
So here's George Twinkle Toes Selkirk.
Fantastic name.
That a great name or not? And in keeping with the Yankees being in the first 10 players there, he's the card number 8. Now here's a good one. I don't have Dizzy Dean, but I got Daffy Dean.
Awesome.
And of course, you may know the famous story about Dizzy Dean started the first game of a doubleheader and pitched a one-hitter, and Daffy Dean started the second game and pitched a no-hitter. And they interviewed Dizzy after. Of course, I probably interviewed them both, but I don't think Paul ever said a whole lot. And Dizzy said, "Well, if I'd have known he was going to do that, I'd have thrown one too."
Of course.
Great players, though. Now here's maybe the most complete nickname, because it's nothing but nickname. Connie Mack was not his name. It wasn't his first name, wasn't his nickname, and it wasn't his last name.
That's right.
So on the back, they give you the whole story. And just like my Uncle Bill said, his name was Cornelius McGillicuddy.
That's right. Oh, man.
And here's one of Harry the Horse Dannon. I don't know why they called him the Horse. Just not really. I don't want to comment on it. I think. And then here's a good nickname card, and also one of the very first umpire cards. This is a picture of Dolly Stark. And he's card number 117. This 1940 was his 13th season as a National League umpire. And he was a protege of the great Bill Clem. So I thought Dolly was a pretty good name. Up till now, I knew that it was the name of a cloned sheep, but
right.
I don't think the umpire had anything to do with that.
I was just looking up Twinkle Toes. Apparently,
yeah,
he earned his nickname for an unusual style of running on his toes, which he said actually made him faster. So I'm sure his teammates were like, "That's great, Twinkle Toes." And
yeah, nice. And so these were a couple of other cards. I think I put these out here with some of the retired Hall of Famers. I think you're maybe question number 6. Here's Schoolboy Hoyt, also known as Waite Hoyt.
Right.
And one of my favorite stories, which took place in, Waite Hoyt was around long after his playing career as an announcer and did play-by-play for the Reds and so forth. Anyway, he also was one of the pallbearers at Babe Ruth's funeral.
Oh, wow.
And you may remember that Babe died in August. And August in New York City is not one of the friendlier temperatures around. And he was, they were carrying Babe's casket up the front steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral. And when they got up to the top, one of the other pallbearers, and I've forgotten his name, said that sure is what a hot day, and the guy says, yeah, he said, I could really use a beer. And Waite Hoyt got right on top of that when he says, so could the Babe. So I really like that one, and that's my Waite Hoyt story.
That's great.
Well, then we got another great pirate, Hall of Famer Pie Traynor.
Oh yeah,
which he got his nickname because he really liked pie.
Is that really?
Yeah, that's where it really came from.
Man, they just found anything to give you a nickname.
And here's another good nickname. You know the story about Mickey Cochran?
I'm forgetting if I do.
Well, Mickey Cochran was Mutt Mantle's favorite player, and so Mickey always said he was named after my dad's favorite player, Mickey Cochran. And then he said, but when I got to New York, he said, I found out that Mickey wasn't his real name, that his real name's Gordon.
Oh, that's right.
I could have been Gordon Mantle.
It doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that's, I could have shown Tommy Henrik, in a variety of different ways, nicknames and everything else, but he's one of my favorite pre-war players. Just really, he just captured the essence of the Yankees doing whatever they needed to do but to win.
Right.
And they didn't always have the best pitching, they didn't always have the best hitting, but somehow or another they managed to pull out many, many, many of those close games.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So one of the other things that's on these too, if you look down in the lower right-hand corner of the card,
mm-hmm.
There's a little pennant down there. It says 1939 pennant, which was, of course, the Yankees won not only the American League pennant, but the World Series in 1939. It was Lou Gehrig's last year and Joe DiMaggio's, Ted Williams' first year, but Tommy Henrik was a featured player in that outfield, starting in 1936 with the rookie Joe DiMaggio, and coming off of a Triple Crown year with Joe, Lou Gehrig, and then 1951 came around, and they were back at it with the Yankees winning again, and in this time 5 years in a row. And Tommy Henrik was a big part of that too.
Hmm.
So great player, great player.
I love
And
that the
he's
cards. Sorry, Rick.
no,
I love that the cards have the little pennant logo on there because
yeah,
the winning the pennant doesn't have the same meaning now in baseball that it once did. I mean, it was a
right,
big deal. It was almost as important as winning the World Series, uh, and it was a badge of honor. Now it's sort of
right,
like, well, I mean, I don't know if anybody even really pays attention to it when you have all these wild card
yeah.
entries and everything else going on. But like, if you were on a pennant winning team, that was a big deal.
You know when the Mets won the National League East in 1973, they did so with a record of I think 82-79. And that told me all I wanted to know about the expanded playoffs. I mean, they were within one game of winning the World Series and barely a 500 team. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Winning a pennant, that was an achievement. It took you all year to get there,
Yeah.
and you had to win it. You couldn't come in second or third or 14th, and
Right.
still
Right.
have a chance at winning the World Series.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you've shown us a lot already, Rick. But are there any? Have you pulled any common cards that you wanted to share with us that we haven't
Well,
seen?
I think that you know that both Charlie Keller and Tommy Henrik in a little higher than perhaps a common card, but still from at least a price standpoint, you can pick these up pretty reasonably compared with somebody like Harry the Horse Danning or
Sure.
uh, so yeah, these are the nicknames and the retired players, the Superman backs, uh, all of those things to me make the common cards more interesting.
Right.
Uh, just because you got more things to really look at. Anyway, but Charlie Keller and Tommy Henrik are, I think, probably what most people would consider common cards. They were a little bit better than a common player, but still in that range of. Uh, I wouldn't have probably known who Tommy Henrik was uh, had it not been for David Halberstam's book, The Summer of '49,
Sure.
and in that first half of that season, DiMaggio didn't play. He had a bone spur in his heel and it could barely walk. Uh, but Tommy Henrik really put the team on his back and carried him. Just hit I don't know, 17, 18, 19 home runs, which was still a lot for back in those days.
Right.
Uh, and just one of his other nicknames was Mr. Clutch, and I think there's a card or two that has that on the back of it. It's not this year, but
Here they are.
yeah. And he's from Massillon, Ohio. So if you want to go see Tommy Henrik's hometown, when you're in Strongsville, you're very close.
Okay. That's great. Rick, from your reading, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you remember what, or having come across any sort of sense of what their relationship was like between Joe and Tommy?
Well, Joe was, had a reputation for, really kind of for being a loner.
Yeah.
Uh, he uh, when he would go to what was the what was the restaurant? Was it Toots Shor's place? He had his own table, and
Right.
sometimes he would eat by himself, and sometimes he would get somebody to go with him just to have company. Yeah, so I think their relationship between them was cordial, and but Joe was he was not a joiner really.
Yeah.
It's just not his personality.
Yeah. Right.
Now, from all that I've heard, his brother Dominic was very personable, very well liked. I don't think people disliked Joe. I think they you just couldn't approach him. Nobody would
Sure.
ever go up to say Joe and say, hey Joe, how's it hanging? You wouldn't do that, and and they didn't.
Right. Here's a question from Mitch. You have the Eldon Auker. I read a book written by him 22 years ago and learned a lot about baseball in the mid to late 30s. Highly recommend it.
I don't. I have several DiMaggio biographies, but that's not a name I'm familiar with.
I'm trying to look it up right here. I think Auker is Auker in the set? I think he might be in the set and also wrote a book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here he is. Let's throw him up here.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not have that card.
Yeah, I don't know if you seen the film 61, Rick?
Well, no, I haven't. And you might think that would be very odd, being a Mickey Mantle fan, but I just, I have my own memories of that season,
Sure.
and I followed it very closely because I was a Mickey Mantle fan, but I liked Roger Maris too. I mean, I was 8.5 years old in 1961, so I was really just getting to be familiar with baseball
Right.
at that time, and I was captivated by the whole all season long.
I love that though because you have your own version of that experience that is genuine for yourself
Yeah.
and you don't need the movie.
Well,
I'm
it's
jealous.
not that I have anything against the movie, but I don't. But I just have not. Uh, I feel like I know all I need to know about it.
Right, right.
Just from having lived through it, um, and he had a obviously DiMaggio was on his way out. Had really declined by 1951. He was not the player that he used to be, and I think that whatever Mickey's feelings might have been, uh, I think he wished that he'd had a better relationship with Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
But Joe DiMaggio didn't have baseball relationships. He just, I mean, not to the level that you would think.
Hmm.
Mantle's greatest tribute was, I think it was Bobby Richardson that hung this on him. Said Mickey was a great teammate.
Hmm.
Nobody ever said that about Joe DiMaggio. They said he was the greatest living baseball player, a lot of things, but you know. I don't think they ever. He certainly wasn't one of the guys.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I mean, in the film, although it's very brief, they really try to create that feeling that there's this desire for Mickey to connect with Joe and that there's just this sort of
Yeah,
wall that he has around himself. when it
You
comes
know,
to sort
I
of.
mean, Mickey was 19 years old in 1951 during the season.
Mhm.
He didn't turn 20 until after the season was over.
Right.
So, he was just a boy. He was a big kid.
Yeah, it's crazy. 19 years old.
Yeah. And I think Mickey probably appreciated what Joe was going through when he got to spring training in 1969 and realized that he just didn't have the tank was empty. He didn't have anything left,
Right.
and so he retired before spring training was even much underway.
Yeah, and Scott's mentioning the really kind of messed up relationship that he had with Marilyn Monroe, in terms of his like personal life.
Yeah.
Complex character.
Well, he wanted to have Marilyn at home, and that she wasn't that kind of
Right.
woman.
Right.
Although, you know, and he definitely wasn't interested in the spotlight of the Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah, which is so bizarre because it's like how can you not know that
I
that's
don't know. I
coming?
don't. It's not. Nothing about the whole thing makes sense.
Right. Um, well, let's try to get back to 1940 play ball, Paul,
Okay.
shall we?
Sure.
Rick, any sort of parting thoughts, or are there any cards that you haven't shown that you'd like to share with us from this set?
Um, no, I think you've seen most of the good ones
Yeah.
that I have. And I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll definitely get there. Out of the three Ted Williams cards and the three Joe DiMaggio cards, I've got a total of three of them. I've got both the 39s, and then I have a 41 Joe DiMaggio.
Hmm.
And uh, Stuke says DiMaggio's first wife was born in Duluth. Well, I can't imagine why he would have been attracted to Marilyn Monroe then. Um, you know, as far as your last question was, do I have any advice? And I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think if you're a set collector, you have to be patient. You have to be diligent. You gotta be involved with the set, not on a daily basis necessarily, but often, a lot as
Yeah.
you're going through it, because you just don't know where you're going to have an opportunity, and if you're not out there, scavenging, and you may miss one.
Hmm.
Uh, and like I said, I've bid on several Charlie Maxwell cards, the 52 tops set, uh, and I think that I'll get one, but it's going to be it's probably not going to be on terms that I like.
That's dedication, right?
So
You want to see that set complete.
that's yeah, that's where diligence has to. Sometimes you have to do things you don't necessarily want to do if you want to complete a set.
Right. Right. Um, I know this is kind of a rotten question, but of the cards that you've got left, if you had to pick one, which one do you think you're most excited to finally acquire?
Well, um, the last one, I guess.
That's a great answer. Okay.
It's
I
hard
did
to
not see
choose
that
between
coming. Yeah.
DiMaggio and Mantle, and of course they're going to be comma cards, no doubt, and apparently so is the shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah, right. I mean that shoeless Joe is on my list as just.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so hard as you mentioned before to find anything with him. At least that one's like not completely ludicrous compared to his other cards, but
hmm right.
I guess we'll see.
See, they mentioned Mookie mentioned that Harry the horse was a character in Damon Runyon's stories and featured in Guys and Dolls. I got the horse right here. That's one of those guys is Harry the horse.
Thank you, Mookie. Backup research. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We are just about out of time. So if you guys are still here and you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up. It helps, means a lot. And let's see, what are we doing next Sunday night? It's going to be another random session. We've got some stuff coming up for this month, but next Sunday will be totally random. So I hope we'll see you guys for that. And don't forget that For Collectors live stream is starting at 9, so you should head over there to For Collectors. Rick, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing cards tonight.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
We should probably do another check-in maybe in a few months and see what new 40s you have acquired.
Well, we'll have the Strongsville show behind us by then, so
Right.
I hope that I will have a few more.
All right, sounds good. All right, Rick, have a great night. Everybody else, take care. See you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you
So long,
Sunday night.
everybody.
Good night.